Hello everyone, this is Venkatesh Panyam. Welcome back to my channel. In this video, we're going to learn everything about latent heat and all the real world applications of latent heat. Learning physics without knowing where we use this in the real world is no use. So I request all the students understand the real world applications of physics. Definitely you'll enjoy physics. Before I start this video, please subscribe my channel if you have not done it, and click the bell icon for more updates. And if you really like my content, please share with your friends and help my mission to make physics more interesting. Thank you. Let's start this class. So first of all, we'll discuss in this video what is latent heat and why it is called latent heat. Then we'll understand why you cannot hold ice for more time. The other question they can ask in the same way, why it is difficult to hold ice at 0 degrees centigrade than water at 0 degrees centigrade. You can hold water at 0 degrees centigrade for more time, but it's not easy for us to hold ice for more time. The same question, why steam at 100 degrees centigrade causes more damage than water at 100? So water at 100 is less dangerous than steam at 100. Then we'll understand another important practical applications. If you go to any cold countries, in most of the cold countries, you see all the houses are made up of wood. The question is why people live in wooden houses in cold countries. And you all know this man, the Santa Claus, and why he was dressed like this complete dress. And you all might have remembered that jingle bells rhyme in school. So why Santa Claus is dressed like this? So I'm going to answer all these questions in this video. First, let us focus on what is latent heat and why it is called latent heat. Let's explain. To understand that, let us take a beaker. In this beaker, I'm going to take some ice and place it in a retort stand, and where we heat it with the help of a burner. As I said, we take some blocks of ice at minus 20 degrees centigrade, and here to measure the temperature, we keep a thermometer. Initially, the thermometer reads minus 20 degrees centigrade. As we start heating it, the temperature of this ice at minus 20 increases to 0 degrees centigrade ice. That means this increase can be noticed in the thermometer up to 0. Once the temperature 0 degrees centigrade, remember for some time there is no change of temperature. What is happening to the heat that we are supplying there? That energy we supplied is changing the ice at 0 to water at 0 degrees centigrade. Until all the ice converts to water at 0, there won't be any change of temperature. Once all ice becomes water, again the temperature changes from 0 to 100 degrees centigrade. Again the temperature reaches to 100 degrees centigrade. Once again, when this temperature reaches 100 degrees centigrade, for some more time, the temperature remains constant until all the water changes to steam. So here you understand that during this process, when ice converts to water and water converts to steam, this is a change of state. There is no rise of temperature. That means this energy required to convert a unit mass of a substance from one state to another state, we call it as latent heat. Why the word latent? Latent means hidden. Because this energy is not reflected in the thermometer. That's why it is called latent heat. So you should understand latent means hidden. Here, why the word hidden is used? Because due to the change of state, the temperature is not reflected in the thermometer. That means temperature is constant. So as I said, what is latent heat? The amount of heat energy required to convert a unit mass of a substance from one state to other state. That is solid to liquid or liquid to vapor. Here you should understand one important point. The amount of energy directly proportional to mass. So more is the mass, more energy we require. So M is equal to some constant into EM. So L is equal to Q by M. This L we call it as latent heat. This L is nothing but latent heat. Let's understand what is the unit of a latent heat. Very simple. So let's write down the units. This energy I can take calorie per gram or joule per kg. And 1 calorie per gram is 4,200 joule per kg. An important calculation. So while solving problems, this is very, very important. 1 calorie per gram is 4,200 joule per kg. Let us try to understand what are the important values of latent of ice and latent of steam. Remember, latent heat of ice is 80 calorie per gram or 80 into 1 calorie per gram. I said 4,200 joule per kg. So this is nothing but 3.36 into 10 power 5 joule per kg. Similarly, a latent heat of steam, if you look at 540 calorie per gram, again 540 into 4,200 joule per kg, nothing but 2.26 into 10 power 5, sorry, 10 power 6 will get 10 power 6 joule per kg. So these two values, you understand that latent steam is more than latent heat of ice. So these two values you need to keep on, you need to keep in mind, because when we solve problem, we need to use them. In the exam, they don't do these values. Now, I answered this question, why it is called latent? Because this energy is not reflected in the thermometer. That's what we call hidden. Now let me answer this question. Why you cannot hold ice at zero for more time, or why ice at 0 degrees centigrade is uncomfortable than water at zero? Because see, the moment you keep ice blocks in the hand, and just now I told that 1 gram of ice takes 80 calories. So the moment you keep ice at 0 degrees centigrade, it starts absorbing energy from your hand. How much energy is absorbed? 80 calories of energy. So since you are losing energy, you feel uncomfortable. Suppose instead of ice, if you take water at 0 degrees centigrade, since water is already in liquid state, it won't see. Ice absorb more energy when compared to water. That means when you hold ice at 0 in one hand, water at 0 in other hand, ice at 0 absorb more energy than water at 0 because it is in solid state. It has to melt. But water at 0 is all in liquid state. It won't absorb much energy. It will absorb own energy to raise the temperature. But here there is a change of state also involved. So water at 0 absorb more energy ice at 0 absorbs more energy when compared to water at 0. That's why we feel uncomfortable to hold ice blocks in the hand when compared to water at 0. The same logic goes. Why steam at 100 degrees centigrade causes more damage at 100? For example, you see steam is all in a vapor state. So what the steam will do, it will lose energy. So how much energy it will lose? For 1 gram of steam, it is 540 calories. That means if you pass 1 calorie of steam on your hand, it will give out 540 calories of energy. Because it is in vapor state, immediately it will condense. So suppose you look at the steam coming from the pressure cooker. If you put a hand, but don't do it, if you put a hand near to this steam generating point, so your hand will receive 540 calories per gram of steam. So it will cause more damage. But if you look at the water at 100 degrees centigrade, because it is already in liquid state and it won't lose that energy. So that's why steam at 100 degrees centigrade is more dangerous than water at 100 degrees centigrade. Now again come to this question. See, we all know that wood is a bad conductor. So the people who are living in these houses made up of wood, they're insulated from this because outside the temperature may be minus 10 degrees centigrade in winter. So what happens is, since the temperature is minus 10 degrees centigrade and our body temperature we need to maintain at around 37 degrees centigrade. So this ice at minus 10 degrees centigrade or the atmosphere temperature, which is at minus 10 degrees centigrade, will absorb more energy from your bodies. So wood will protect from this, what called as our bodies from this extreme colds, and because wood is a bad conductor. So in all the cold countries, all the houses are made up of wood. The same logic goes for Santa Claus. We all know that this Santa Claus bring lot of gifts during Christmas time. So Christmas is in December and it is a winter, severe winter. So look at everywhere you find lot of snowfall. So in order to protect himself, he has to cover properly. He has to insulate his body because he travels in a cold country, cold places. If you don't have this protection, Santa Claus cannot survive. Why? Because even look at these animals. They have a lot of fur. Their bodies are covered with it. That's why they are insulated. So Santa Claus is also insulated from that outside extreme cold weather. So that's why he protects every part of his body with this proper clothes. Otherwise, he cannot survive because of that extreme weather. Now let's try to understand two cases here. The question is, can we freeze water by adding any amount of ice to it? See, for example, I have water at 37 degrees centigrade. Now I'm adding an ice block. Let us take the ice is at 0 degrees centigrade. The moment I add one ice block at 0 degrees centigrade, the temperature of this water may decrease to say 30 degrees centigrade. Now I put one more block of ice, the temperature becomes say 25 degrees centigrade. So like this, if I keep on adding the ice block, the temperature of this water, let us say it comes to 0 degrees centigrade. Now the question is, that means it is liquid water, there is a liquid state, but the temperature is 0. Now the question is, if you add some more ice to it, will this water freezes? Remember, this is impossible. So that means by adding ice to water, We can only bring its temperature to 0 degrees centigrade, but you cannot freeze it. So this is an impossible thing. So by adding any amount of ice to water, we cannot freeze water, but we can only decrease the temperature to 0. The same logic goes. Whenever you pass steam to over water, the temperature of water keep on increasing. Let us take again. This is at 37 degrees centigrade. Since you're adding steam, its temperature keep on increasing up to 100 degrees centigrade. By passing any amount of steam to it, we cannot evaporate water. So only we can raise the temperature of water through 100 degrees centigrade, but you cannot evaporate. So you should understand the two impossible cases. By adding any amount of ice to water, you cannot freeze it. By adding any amount of steam to it, we cannot evaporate. Another important point is, see what happens when we add another block of ice, this ice will stay there, it won't melt. Because already the water is at 0 degrees centigrade, ice is also 0 degrees centigrade, they are in thermal equilibrium, no longer the ice block will melt, it will flow. That means ice plus water can exist at 0 degrees centigrade. So in a mixture, whenever there is some ice and water, remember it is the mixture is at 0 degrees centigrade. Similarly, now you add steam, and after some time the water temperature raises to steam, and even if you add some steam to it, it will stay there. That means steam plus water will exist at 100 degrees centigrade. So in a mixture, if you find some steam and water, they can exist only at 100 degrees centigrade. These are the two important points you should understand. Let's go to an important problem here. Now, I have a mixture of equal mass of ice and equal mass of water I want to mix. Let me take m grams of ice at 0 degrees centigrade, m grams of steam at 100. I want to mix both of them. So remember, let's draw a diagram so to understand better. So this beaker contains m grams of ice at 0 degrees centigrade. Now to this mixture, I am adding m grams of steam at 100 degrees centigrade. Now, whenever we add steam to ice, the ice will absorb energy from steam and ice will melt. At the same time, ice, since steam is losing energy, steam will condense to water. Now the question is, because of steam, will all the ice melts? Or because of ice, will all the steam condense? Let us understand. Here, you should understand that suppose if all the steam condenses to water, let us find out how much energy it will lose. So, if all steam condenses to water, let us find out how much energy it has to lose. So, here actually the steam is at 100 degrees centigrade. So, steam at 100 degrees centigrade first become water at 100 degrees centigrade. And because of this ice, this water at 100 degrees centigrade becomes water at 0 degrees centigrade. That means all the steam condensed to water at 0 because of ice. And further freezing is not possible. I said by adding ice, you cannot freeze water. So therefore, Q lost is equal to change of state. So remember here two formulas are very important. MC delta T and Q is equal to ML. So we use this formula for change of temperature. This formula used for change of state. So here there is a change of state, so ML. plus this is a change of temperature, say mc delta. So we don't know the mass m into length of steam is 540. Again m into specific heat of water 1, because I am taking calorie per gram, so 1 will be calorie per gram into 100. Nothing but 640 m calories. That means if all the steam condenses to water at 0, it will lose 640 m calories of heat. On other hand, what happens if all the ice melts to water? How much energy it will absorb? So let us take. If all ice melts to water, again let us take the change of state diagram. So ice at 0 degrees centigrade, on absorbing energy from steam, it become water at 0 degrees centigrade. Still it is absorbing energy from steam. This will raise to 100 degrees centigrade water. It will stop. It cannot become steam. So that means all the ice will melt and the temperature of this water will increase to 100 degrees centigrade and it will stop. So Q absorbed is equal to again ml plus mc delta. So what is m? We don't know. L is the length of ice 80 and m into 1 into 100 again. So this is 180 m calories. Now we got two situations here. If we assume that because of ice, all the steam condenses, the ice has to absorb 640 m calories of energy from steam. On the other hand, in order to melt all the ice, only we require 180 m calories. That means the ice cannot take that much energy because it requires only 180 m. So from this we understand that steam has excess energy than required by ice. So we can conclude that all the ice will melt, but all the steam will not condense. So from the above two cases, we understood that all ice will melt, but all steam will not condense. This is an important point you should understand here. When we mix equal mass of ice and steam, we understood that all ice will melt, but all steam will not condense. Then let us assume that let X be the mass of steam that condenses. That means this X grams of steam will provide all the energy required by that steam, that ice. So let us write that way. So I can write X into 540 is equal to 180 m. That means this is the amount of energy required by ice. This energy provided by just X grams of steam. So this will go by 3 times. So X is equal to m by 3. So now we need to write one by one. So first point, mass of condensed steam. So mass of condensed steam is how much steam is condensed? M by 3. The second is mass of uncondensed steam. How much steam we have taken? M grams. Out of that m, how much is condensed? M by 3. So remaining will be m minus m by 3. That is nothing but 2m by 3. The third question, very important. What is mass of water? Since all ice melted to water plus m/3 grams of steam also melts, condensed water. So this mixture contains 4m/3 grams of water, 2m/3 grams of steam, 0 grams of ice. Since in the mixture we have steam and water, so very important, temperature of mixture is 100 degree centigrade. So I said already, ice and water exist only at 100 degrees centigrade. So that is the why the temperature of the mixture will be. This is a very important application of this concept. When we mix equal mass of ice and steam, all ice will melt, but all steam will not condense. There are some other problems where when we add excess ice to steam. Remember, here equal mass of ice and steam are added, but when you add excess mass of steam, for example, let's take 5m ice, only m steam. 5m steam, ice means it will absorb more energy. So in this case, all the steam will condense. When the masses are equal, only steam will condense, but ice will not. All ice will melt, but all steam will not condense. Remember, when we have a problem where excess amount of ice is there added to steam, we'll get, if you simplify the problem, we may get answer less than 0 degrees centigrade. Okay, same, for example, you may get minus 50, but that is not the answer. When we add excess amount of ice to steam, remember, take the temperature as 0 degrees centigrade, because it is not possible. On the same way, when we add excess steam to ice, in this case, if you solve the problem, you get more than 100 degrees centigrade. The temperature will be more than this. Again, this is not possible. So when the excess amount of steam is added to ice, take the resultant temperature will be 100 degrees centigrade. So on simplification, if the resultant temperature you are getting less than 0, don't write that answer, take it as 0. If the temperature you get is more than 100, don't take it, only 100, because not possible. However you try, whatever the steam you add to ice cannot be vaporized. So the maximum temperature attained is 100 only. These are very, very important points. Let's understand some of the important practical applications of this. What is the effect of impurities on melting point of ice? Very, very important. Remember, whenever you add impurities, melting point of ice decreases with impurities. Soluble impurities, you can say. So remember, melting point of ice decreases with impurity. Now let's take a simple example. Suppose we all know that ice melts at 0 degrees centigrade. To ice, if you add some salt, common salt, ice can melt even at -2 degrees centigrade. Actually, at -2 degrees centigrade, ice will not melt because the melting point of ice is 0 degrees centigrade. Only when the temperature of ice is 0, it starts melting. But when we add an impurity like salt, ice will melt even at -2 degrees centigrade. So we use this property of ice, that is its melting point decreases with impurities, to clean the road, to clear the snowfall in winter season in cold countries. See, this is what you need to learn, the practical applications. See, in cold countries, during the snowfall, the winter time, see, this man is sprinkling salt on the snow. Look at this diagram. So why they are sprinkling snow, ice, sorry, salt on the snow? Because this salt, when falls on the snow, see for example, the surrounding temperature is say here -2 degrees centigrade. So this snow will not melt because it's not a melting point of ice. The moment you add some salt to it, this salt will decrease the temperature of that snow, the melting point of that ice to -2. So it starts melting. So all the snow start melting. It cleans, it is cleared from the road. So very, very important application. So that's why in cold countries, salt is sprinkled on the roads during winter season. So an important point to understand, melting point of ice decrease with temperature, impurities. On the other hand, let's see what is the effect of temperature on boiling point of water, or why seawater takes more time to boil than river water. This is another important point. Remember, boiling point of water increases with impurities. Their melting point decrease with impurities, but boiling point of water increase with impurities. We know that water boils at 100 degrees centigrade. Suppose if you add some salt to it, water will boil at 104 degrees centigrade. So that means boiling point will increase. Now suppose I take some pure water, say river water, and this is sea water. And remember, this is, I said, river water, pure water, let us take. Suppose the temperature of this river water is 100 degrees centigrade, and this also reaches 100 degrees centigrade. The moment the river water reaches 100 degrees centigrade, since it is the boiling point of water, no salts or no impurities are there, it starts evaporating because it reaches 100 degrees centigrade. Now remember, the sea water, when it reaches 100 degrees centigrade, it won't evaporate. Why? Because the boiling point increases to 104. So even when the temperature is 101, it won't evaporate. 102, it won't evaporate. 103, it won't evaporate. Once it reaches 104 degrees centigrade, it starts evaporating. That means seawater exists in liquid state even at 102 degrees centigrade, but pure water cannot exist in liquid state. By the time it reaches 102, it evaporates. So this is based on the fact that boiling point of water increases with impurities. So where we can use in real life, suppose you want to cook some food. Suppose I want to boil potatoes or boil eggs. So when you add, if you put these potatoes or eggs, you just add a pinch of salt. When you add a pinch of salt, the water will be in the liquid state for more time, and thereby these eggs or potatoes will be cooked fast. Why? Because the availability of water will be there for more time. Otherwise, water, once it reaches 100 degrees centigrade, it evaporates very fast. Let us see another interesting point. Effect of pressure on melting point of ice. This is a very interesting point. Remember, melting point of ice again decreases with pressure. Whenever you apply pressure, the melting point of ice decrease. Again, the same logic. We know that ice melts at 0 degrees centigrade. But when we apply pressure on ice, it will melt even at 2 degrees centigrade. Very important application we have. And let us understand what is this term called regelation. To understand the regelation, let me explain a simple experiment. Here I have a block of ice. This is the block of ice. On this block of ice, what I am doing is I just keep one fine metallic thread, and it is connected to heavy weights, and this metallic thread is placed on the ice block. Now what happens? Since these two blocks are pulling, the weight of the blocks are adding, this metallic thread, it will exert pressure on the ice. We know that, for example, here the temperature of the surrounding is -2 degrees centigrade. So ice won't melt. But since you are exerting pressure on this ice, even at -2 degrees centigrade, the ice will melt. Since ice melts to water, this metallic thread passes through this block. So after some time, what happened? This metallic string slowly passes to the block and finally it comes out of it. So what we expect when there is an ice block, when we pass a metallic wire through it, we expect that it should become two pieces, but it's not happening. It again a single piece. So what is the reason? What is happening here? So here when the metallic wire passes through this wire, the above water again refreezes. Why? Because the surrounding temperature is -2 degrees centigrade. So resolution is the phenomenon of ice melting under the pressure and freezing when the pressure is reduced. Very important. So when there is a pressure, ice will melt. The moment the wire goes inside, the water above, the pressure is not there. Immediately it freezes. So the phenomenon of resolidification of water into ice, when the pressure is removed, we call that as resolution. So this resolution is an important aspect of ice skiing. So what is the principle of ice skiing? Simply we can say that resolution. So here how it helps, let me explain. How skiing is going to help us. Remember, skiing means what? The skiing is nothing but a transport using the skis. So look at those people who are in cold countries. They'll move from one place to another place with the help of the skis. A ski is nothing but a skate. You have a skate. How does it work? Let me explain. This woman is standing on a skate. There is ice. As I said, let us take the temperature of is say -2 degrees centigrade. At this temperature, the ice will not melt. The moment this lady, she is pressing the ice with the help of the skates. Since is exerting pressure on this ice, even at -2 also, this ice will melt. So it becomes water. It becomes slippery. Water decreases friction, so it becomes slippery. She'll move ahead. The moment she moves fast of that, this water so formed because of pressure immediately refreezes. Why? Because the outside temperature is -2 degrees centigrade. That's how this woman can move from place to place with the help of the skis. So skiing is an application of resolution. On the other hand, what is the effect of pressure on boiling point of water? Remember, boiling point of water again increases with pressure. So again, the same logic. Ordinary water at ordinary pressure, water boils at 100 degrees centigrade. But when we exert pressure on it, water exists even liquids in liquid state even at 104 degrees centigrade. This is the principle behind the pressure cooker. Pressure cooker works on the principle that boiling point of water increases with pressure. Let's see how does a pressure cooker works. See, we just keep some rice and we just fill it with half of its volume, say, with water. Suppose if this, there is no cap, there is no what called as a plate on it, nothing is covered. See, for example, there is a vessel in which there is a rice and water. You just start heating. Once it reaches 100 degrees centigrade, all the water will escape. That means within 10-15 minutes, all the water from the vessel escapes. And even though the rice is not properly cooked, the water has all water went out, right? So we need to add some more. That's the reason why if you want to cook properly, we need to cover the vessel, cooking vessels with a lid, right? So, but it is a cumbersome process because the foam developed inside this will remove the plate time and again. So we need to remove the plate time and again, and in order to remove that vapor, it's a cumbersome process. Now this problem is solved in the pressure cooker. Let's see what happens. Remember, in a pressure cooker, if you look at here, you have a projection like this, and this projection is provided a nozzle. There is a nozzle, there is a hole, and this is covered with the help of a cap, a heavy cap. Okay, you have a heavy cap like this. Now what happens? When we start heating the pressure cooker, the water starts becoming steam. See, but what happens? This steam cannot escape. Why? Because it is properly sealed, it is insulated, steam cannot escape, and this cap is very heavy. Now what happens is, the steam so formed is exerting a force F on the metal cap. Since this cap is very heavy, its weight acts downward. Initially, when the pressure is less, the weight of the cap more than the force exerted by this steam. Since we are not allowing the steam to escape, it will exert pressure on water. That means the boiling point of water inside the pressure cooker increases from 100 to 104 degrees centigrade. That means even at 104 degrees centigrade, the water still exists in liquid state. So that's why there is availability of water inside the pressure cooker. The rice will cook very fast. But there is one danger here. As the steam keep on building, this may explode. So how it is regulated? See, when the steam keep on increasing, the force exerted by the steam will increase. At one point, the upward force exceeds the weight of this cap. So what happens when this exceeds, the cap will be pushed up. When the cap is pushed up, this nozzle will be exposed to the surroundings. So all of a sudden, all the steam will escape out of the nozzle. So as this steam is coming out of the nozzle, and again, slowly the upward pressure decreases. As the weight of the cap is more than the pressure, again, it settles down. Automatically, it falls down. Again, the same process takes place. Again, the seam starts developing. And where comes the stage? Upward force more than the weight of the nozzle. And again, it lifts up. And that's how the pressure inside the pressure cooker is regulated so that this pressure cooker will not explode. As so much pressure is developing, it has to withstand that high pressure. That's why the pressure cookers are made so heavy. We use a stainless steel or aluminum, heavy aluminum or a stainless steel. So just remember, pressure, the principle of pressure cooker is that the boiling point of water increases with pressure. I hope you all understood all the practical applications of the latent heat of ice and latent of water, and you can solve a lot of problems, and you can find the problems on this latent specific heat in other videos, and just watch them to understand the concept that I explained today. I wish you happy physics learning, and once again, please subscribe if you have not done it. Thanks again. Thanks for watching.